I may not have grown up in a busy city, but I have been spoiled by a nearly endless amount of outdoor activities. Among those activities are hiking and camping, but one of the most enjoyable things about my hometown is the easy access to being on the water, specifically boating. I'm not even close to financially capable of owning a boat, but my friend Trevor is lucky enough to own one. Growing up, his family lived on the water. They've always had a decent-sized boat. We would spend hours on that thing. When Trevor got his boating license, his dad would let us take the boat out. When we were in high school, we found a small island located on one of the boating routes we took. If I had to estimate the size of the island, I would guess that it was roughly the size of a big Walmart. All through high school, college, and early adulthood, we would frequent the island. Once in a while, there would be a few other people fishing or something like that, but most of the time, it was empty. It was like our own little island. I assumed the reason it was empty a lot was that there wasn't really a good place to dock the boat. Obviously, there was no dock, and it only had a small strip of shoreline. The rest of the island was surrounded by rocky cliffs and trees. Trevor would anchor the boat down, and we would swim the short distance to the shore. It seems like a hassle, but it really wasn't. Over the years, we explored every inch of the island. We even set up markers in certain areas so we knew where we were. In high school, we would play epic games of manhunt on the island. As we got older, it became more of a party spot where we could be loud and wild and do what people that age do. But one of the crazier things about the island I noticed as I got older was that there was almost no wildlife on the island. No birds, no nests, no small mammals, no reptiles. I mean, we rarely even saw bugs on the island, which is crazy. Whenever we would bring someone new to the island, we would tell them stories about it. Things like the island being cursed, just to get a rise out of people. We made everything up, so I never believed there was anything to be scared of. Until one night, a few years ago, that I still can't really explain. Trevor had his own boat by this time in our lives. He suggested something to us that I couldn't believe we had never done before. He suggested that we stay overnight on the island. He could bring 8 of us on his boat, and the 8 of us could have a campout on the island. It seemed like an amazing idea, especially because a girl named Megan in our friend group and I were crushing on each other at the time. This would be an ideal situation for us to get some alone time. We took off from the dock in the afternoon and arrived on the island around 4 p.m. The first few hours were amazing. We gave Megan and the others a tour of the island. We showed them all the cool things we had discovered over the years. As night was falling, we cooked some hot dogs over a fire and started to have a couple of drinks. Up to this point of the night, it had been one of the best times I'd ever had on the island. Trevor kept the fire going, and we all sat around it, telling stories and just really enjoying the vibe. It was several hours into the night when I started to notice that Megan was acting a little strange. She was usually always laughing and smiling, but for some reason, she was quiet. She looked almost like she was lost in thought. When I asked her if she was okay, she kept looking at the trees that were several feet away from where we were sitting. Before she answered me, she paused and kept scanning the trees, which were just about pitch black from where we were sitting. She said she kept hearing noises from the trees, noises that sounded like movement. I told her it was probably an animal, to which she brought up what we had told her earlier, that we had never seen an animal on the island before. I reminded her that we had also never been on the island overnight before, and that it was probably a nocturnal animal, and we had nothing to worry about. She still looked concerned as she continued squinting at the trees. She said, "I don't think an animal's out there." I thought maybe she had too much to drink, but she barely finished her only beer. Everyone, except Trevor and I, started to get a little freaked out. Trevor's girlfriend, Rosie, asked if we were sure if we were the only ones on the island, and we were sure. There was no boat anchored anywhere, and we had walked the entire island earlier and didn't see any evidence that people were there. I was confident that the darkness was playing tricks on the eyes and ears of our friends. Once the fear came out, it was like we couldn't calm them down. Trevor pulled out a flashlight and told everyone to relax. He said he was going to point it at the trees and show everyone that nobody's in the woods and that their imagination had gotten off the rails. He slowly moved the flashlight beam horizontally across the tree line. Megan screamed and pointed. Everyone else jumped because of Megan. She said 2 people were standing in the woods as the flashlight passed. Nobody else saw it. Trevor moved the flashlight beam back, and sure enough, Two people were standing next to the trees. The image of them staring back at us is one of the scariest things I've ever witnessed with my own eyes. They were almost completely hidden, which is why we didn't see them at first. Trevor jumped back, and the light beam went with him. When he got back up and shone the light in the same direction as the two people, they were gone. We started to panic. We definitely saw two people standing there, and now they weren't. Trevor started yelling in their direction, telling them to come out. Nothing happened. A few of us ran over there to intimidate them, which in hindsight was pretty stupid. When we got over there, nobody was there. We could hear laughing in the woods, but it was faint. I suggested to Trevor that we should leave, just in case these two meant us any kind of harm. I could tell Trevor's pride was hurt, but he ultimately agreed. We started to pack up our essentials and put the fire out. The entire time, Megan was telling us to hurry up because she could hear them laughing in the woods, but no matter where she put the light beam, she couldn't see them. We started back in the water so we could get on the boat. Just before Trevor and I could get on, Megan screamed as she continued pointing the light onto the beach. The two people were now on the beach. I jumped onto the boat, and just as Trevor was getting on, the woman called out Trevor's name. Whisper, slow down. He stopped and looked back at her. She said that she wanted him to walk with her in the forest so that she could show him something cool. Then she could come back for the rest of us. Trevor almost went back to the island. It was almost like the only thought he had in that moment was going back. I grabbed him and essentially threw him back on the boat. He didn't say a thing or even mention that he looked like he was starting to head back. We got the anchor and departed from the island. As we were leaving, Megan kept the light on the island. The man was gone, but the woman was on the shore, watching us leave. We kept a light on her until she walked back into the woods. Trevor took a small lap around the island to see if any boat was tied up anywhere, and disturbingly, there were none. These two people were already on the island when we arrived, and we had no idea where they came from or how long they'd been there. The island was far enough away that it would be an incredibly hard swim, especially for these two. Whenever I think about that night, my brain goes to some insane places. There isn't anywhere on the island, at least that we know about, where you can hide. We would have heard them at some point when we were walking through the island in the afternoon. It was like these two people just appeared out of nowhere. Trevor and I went back to the island one more time after that night. It was the next day, and we went to try and see if there was any evidence of these two. A few feet into the woods, there was something leaning up against a tree. It was what looked like a human figure made from sticks. We didn't stay much longer after that. We got in Trevor's boat and left. I have no idea what happened for sure that night, but I can confidently say that the island isn't right. For now, I don't have any interest in going back, but I am happy with the memories I made there.